Welcome to the Upkeep Pledge Pros podcast, a podcast dedicated to unmatched value and unwavering support for our customers and the community at large. Today, we have a literal unicorn. Her name is Millie Merrill, and she is a heavy equipment mechanic from Ohio. And we are so excited to have her on the podcast because, as I said, she is few and far between. They are very, very difficult to find. And today we have Millie Merrill. Millie, welcome.
Thank you. I'm really excited to talk about one of the things I love the most. So thank you for having
Likewise.
me.
You are very, very welcome. We are very excited to have you and really glad that we can have you on to tell a story, to tell your story about how you got into heavy machinery, mechanics, maintenance, all these things. And I know for sure that there are young women, young ladies out there that have thought about these things, but are not quite sure how they play out, right? And what the culture is
Yeah.
like in essentially a completely male-dominated atmosphere. So I guess
hmm
to kick things off, Millie, could you tell us who you are? Where did this story where did this story begin?
yeah, Millie, Merrill. I grew up in a town called Fort Smith, Arkansas. Um, Lived there almost my entire life, and I suppose one of my biggest influences growing up was my grandfather. He was someone who did many jobs. He was a police officer and he was in the military, and he always loved cars. Like that's his thing is cars. He had a Torino that he would take us out in, and we would just go get candy bars and go on a joyride.
Nice.
And he always worked in shops, once he finished policing. He spent a lot of time working in shops, doing service writing as well. And he would take my sister and I to these places, and people just loved us because we were twins, and
Oh,
they
really?
were like, "Oh, wow, like identical twins," and they would give us little uh shops always have free stuff.
Sure.
And so I just remember getting all this like tire shaped things
All these
and
widgets.
pins. Yeah, and I was just like, and I just remember loving the smell of the tires. And one of the things that I really loved was the uniforms. When I saw people's like nicknames on it, I was like, man, I want that to be me someday. Um, but yeah, like you said, there's not many women in the industry. So, um, as I got older, I sort of put it out of my mind that that was a possibility for me. And I just pursued, other routes. And then finally, you know, decided that maybe I should go back to school and do what I've always wanted to do. So,
Nice. And what school was that?
I went to a school called American Diesel.
Okay.
It's here in Columbus, and when I first started, it was rather new. So, you know, they it was very local. Like everyone there was from Ohio, and we had our curriculum. They had put together a curriculum, and it was mostly geared towards semi trucks.
Yeah.
Um, so so actually I got into this school because my husband had told me like, well, if you want to be a mechanic, I've been listening to commercials and they said diesel is where it's at. So I was like, well, I don't really, I didn't really care what I was doing. I just wanted to do it.
Yeah.
So I went and spoke with them, and it was so funny because they thought my husband was signing up. So they were like, talking to him and giving him information, and I'm like writing notes, and then when I came and signed up, they were like, "Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah." They were very supportive, uh really great people, and that's how I got myself into the industry, so to speak.
Yeah, that's
So,
awesome. I also went to like an automotive school. I didn't focus on diesel. I went for like regular automotive after I dropped out
mhm.
of college. And I was a mechanic for a while in a shop, like a local shop.
Mhm.
And I never thought would be moving into heavy equipment, but I actually lost
Mhm.
my job during the recession in 2007, I think.
Okay.
Uh, and I joined the Navy and became a heavy equipment mechanic in the Navy.
Mhm.
And then when I got out of the Navy, Caterpillar hired me right out of the Navy, and I have not looked back since. Caterpillar did try to pull a fast one on me though when I worked there, and they wanted me to. When I went there, the first thing they did is they sent me to air brake school because
Oh yeah.
they were
Mhm.
short on truck mechanics in the truck shop, and I straight told them I was like, "Look, I'll go to this school, but I do not want to work on trucks.
Yeah.
I want to be dirt side." Um,
Yeah.
so how did you? So when you got out of school,
Mhm.
of course, you were well versed in engines, right? Trucks, platforms,
Mhm.
probably emission systems, brake systems, all those things.
Mhm.
When did the switch come to the dirt side, or as we call it, yeah, the dirt side?
Yeah, so well, I guess I should say I am a purple belt in jujitsu. So this
Awesome.
yeah, so I was at my gym and I was speaking with a lady and she was like, "You know what? My company hires diesel mechanics." And her company is a local heavy equipment dealer. And so I went there and spoke with them, and they were right away, they were very like, "Yeah, we would love to have you." You know, I took a test and, submitted my resume, and they allowed me to work for them part-time until I was finished with the program.
Nice.
And I've been there ever since. Well,
That's
I will say this, I took a year, and joined the union, but I just missed, the family atmosphere that my company had, you know? There's really something, great, I think, like, sort of a country aspect to working on farming and construction equipment. It's almost like I don't wanna say that people are different in that field, but I feel like they're very different, uh, whenever I've experienced, the trucking world or even, some other heavy type industries.
Yeah, I mean, I think the exact same way. I think they are different. The atmosphere is totally different. I don't know if you go in the field very often, but like just going out in your service truck and
Mhm.
tearing a machine apart in the middle of a field,
Yeah.
there's no one for miles. The only person you
Yeah.
have to rely on is yourself, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Sometimes you got someone looking over you.
Yeah, yeah, sometimes
Yeah.
sometimes, but you're right, it's totally different. And with heavy and industrial machine repair that I do, I turn down a lot of over the road business because it's
Mhm.
just what you say. It's like a guy breaks down on the highway 10 miles from here and he's from New York.
Mhm.
You go fix his machine. If you miss one, don't get his license plate number, don't get one thing right,
Yeah.
then he could not pay you,
Yeah.
you
That
know?
pressure, there's also an element of one thing and I'm not saying that you don't have to be careful because I'm a very careful person, but you forget to do something on a semi truck, people can die,
Sure.
and you can be targeted, and so I do feel at least a little more relaxed with the heavy equipment. I still think there's a lot of safety things involved in heavy equipment, but at least, these machines aren't going 70 miles an hour. You know what I mean? So, I
I wish
kind of
they
like
would.
that. Yeah, that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, a lot
But
of people drive them like they can go 60 miles an hour.
yeah, yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 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 you get in and you're turning wrenches on what we would call CCE, compact construction equipment, right?
Mhm. Yes.
Um, and what do you think was one of the all right, well, this is two questions. We'll do this.
Okay.
So the first question is, what was the atmosphere like being in, I'm assuming you're the only woman in your shop.
Mhm.
What was that like coming in and having like I don't know if people were like dismissive
Yeah.
or I don't even know. I have no frame of reference,
Yeah.
right? I've never worked
Yeah.
with a woman in heavy industry. And then the second part of that question is what was your transition like when you really started to get into the hydraulic side of things and like, the hydrostatic drives and all the things that you wouldn't see on an over-the-road truck?
Yeah. Well, when I first started, I was very nervous because I honestly, you look at a truck and you do this filter a million times and you change these brakes a million times and you're like, cool. I did not have a mechanical mind. Um, I don't feel like I was very everything's foreign and I'm scared and I have no idea what this is. So, but my boss was very patient with me. And I asked him a million questions and he would just tell me lots of stuff. And then I had some other people from the field had come in. They were about to retire, so they were very interested in training me. Um, and then my coworkers, they would also try to teach me things. So I felt like I was very welcomed into the industry.
Good.
I've had a few bad experiences, but honestly, they're so small that I'm like, you know what? There's just some not great people out in the world, that
Yep.
so I really feel that generally I'm very accepted by my coworkers. I consider them like family, and
That's awesome. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, the saying stays true. Some people suck, right?
Yeah. And you know what? It's like you realize it when no one really gets along with that person, and you're like, okay, it's not me, it's them.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, so for the most part, I've had a great experience with people. Um, And then as far as hydraulics, I think that's one of the most interesting parts of heavy equipment, is it's I don't know, it's just you think you know something and then there's more, And now, yeah, I really like working with hydraulics and I think it's fascinating.
It's amazing. One of the things
Hmm.
that caught my eye with you on your LinkedIn was one of the control valves you recently just swapped out.
Yeah,
It had a micro crack in it, right?
yeah.
And for anybody listening, if you ever want to experience what a heavy equipment mechanic experience is, Google hydraulic schematic and just
Oh,
look
yeah.
and just look
Yeah.
at it and know that we look at those things constantly, and we
Mhm.
have to decipher a lot of information from those things.
Mhm.
Um, so then everything is going pretty well then.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. When you first start, I think no matter who you are, it's a steep uphill battle, every day. But the thing that has always kept me going is I have this mantra in my head, and it's you chose this life. And so even when things get tough, I just tell myself like this is the life we chose.
Yeah,
And
that's right.
yeah, it keeps me going you know, uh and the same is true for if you do martial arts. Like there's a period where you kind of get to maybe like a mid-level and you don't have the same frustrations maybe that you did with these smaller problems.
Yes.
So yeah, I feel I always I don't even know when you become an expert. I'm like, I don't think I'm an expert after 10 years, I'll think I know a lot maybe, but I feel like because equipment is changing every year, like you have to stay on it, So
Yes.
I don't know. I consider myself a humble person. Um, and I think that's a good way to be in this field.
Yeah, and in anything, right? Focusing on the journey and not the end goal
Mhm.
really helps put a lot of things into perspective. And the
Yeah.
the fact I did Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu many years ago before I went in the service. I
Mhm.
wasn't a purple belt. Uh, but doing Jiu-Jitsu, you do hard things constantly, right?
Yeah.
You're constantly um being challenged and you have to solve these problems by yourself.
Mhm.
right? So that builds a type of confidence that's just unmatched in a lot of situations. And
Yeah.
I'm actually in the process of trying to convince my 9-year-old daughter to start doing Brazilian
Yeah,
Jiu-Jitsu.
she should. Yeah,
I'm
actually, I'm gonna say this. Jujitsu is probably what changed me. Um, and I did tell myself the same thing, like if I can do this and I can be a mechanic,
100%. It's a
So,
challenge, right? You do hard things and then normal life doesn't seem so hard, right?
yeah,
And
it's true.
being a mechanic, I'm sure when you get your mitts on some of those other ladies, they're like, "Wow, what does she do for work?" Right?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, yeah, that is very true. Uh, it does help. It helps with leverage, understanding leverage. It's helped me in many ways. So,
That's awesome.
yeah.
That's very inspiring. And like anybody
hmm
listening, young women, any men, anybody, right? I mean,
hmm
just sometimes doing the challenging things can really provide clarity for where you'd like to be in your life, or maybe you're having obstacles and challenges that you're struggling with. Do
hmm
something hard because normal life gets a lot easier after you do hard things.
Yeah, that is true.
That's so
Yeah.
good. I love
hmm
that. And so, are there any ambitions with where you work? Are you trying to get in the field? You want to move up into management? Like, what do you think? I'm putting you on the spot. Where do you want to be?
You know what? I've been satisfied with being a shop mechanic, and I I don't know, sometimes I feel bad that I don't have other aspirations,
That's okay.
I was watching a podcast yesterday and they were talking about millionaires and how they always think about the future and where they're going to end up, and I'm like, enjoying what I'm doing. I just want to be really good at my job, I guess. I
Right.
want to know it all, I
Yeah.
want uh people to I don't want everyone calling me all the time, but being able to help others, if they call me and I'm like, yeah, I know exactly what that is. I feel like that's something that is on my list.
Yeah,
hmm
and the cool thing about that, being humble is paramount, and also being a resource for other people is a two-way street. Yes,
hmm
you are helping and lifting people and enabling other people to do their best work, but at the same time, you are learning, right?
hmm
You're learning
Yeah.
things about yourself. You're learning, like I know when I used to rebuild, I don't know if you ever heard of a machine called a 963 track loader, CAT 963 track loader.
hmm
So when I was a shop mechanic at Caterpillar, I used to do the overhauls, the full CAT certified rebuilds on 963s.
hmm
So I had done so many that all the guys would call me all the time asking about the machines. And sometimes you know this, you do something so much, you're just kind of going through the paces. You're kind of it's kind of bad to say, but you're not really paying attention. You're just kind of
Yeah, you're just doing
you're
it.
just
Yeah.
doing it. And they would
hmm
call me about something. I'd be like, oh crap, hold on. I got to think about that for a minute, right? So it was a constant like, understanding, right? So you're helping people, but
Yeah.
you're also learning yourself.
hmm
Um, my other
Yeah, because sometimes you'll give them advice and they mistake it, and you're like, man, that is not what I meant.
yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, that's true.
And some of the machines, I'm not going to say, but some of the machines you work on, actually, most of them, from a skid steer standpoint, they have a transverse engine in them, right?
hmm
And they
Yeah,
and
um, they switch it up on us every so often, but yeah, they're uh very interesting how all of it is tied together.
yeah, I've worked on a lot of them.
hmm
And I
It's
know
hard. Yeah.
you go from working on a cat skid steer where you're used to a standard install of an engine and pumps, and then you
hmm
go do that and you're like, I can't even get to the back. I got to raise the cab. I can't even get to the back of
Yeah.
the thing.
Yeah, we're just, you know what, in our industry, like, we're very like, this is just part of our job. We're gonna be stuck, like in between here and, you know.
But the funny thing about that is, and people always laugh at me, is because I don't know about you, but like you, when you work on heavy equipment, you get big hands and wrists and forearms, but then this compact construction equipment makes no space. So it's like you can't
Yeah.
You can't get like I'll get this far into something and I'll have to
You're like, what do I do?
yeah, disassemble
That
all
is
this
so
stuff.
funny. Yeah, so actually, my motto is I help anyone who needs help because it's gonna come back around. So, a lot of times the guys ask me like, can you just get your little hand down there and unplug that sensor?
Yeah.
Maybe it would have taken them 2 hours and it takes me like 1 second. So I'm always like, yeah, sure, I'll help. And then, like that control valve, it took a big person just to yank it out of there.
Yeah.
And yeah, we just we try to teamwork things that we know might take a while. Uh and it might take us a second if and that's one thing I do like about the shop is having each other, and looking out for each other. We're always in the field, for example, there's some safety measures that you may have to just get used to breaking because there's no one there to help you out. And in the shop, like we don't have to be that way, We can
Right.
say, "Can you throw this stop in for me so I can get out and not,
Yep.
possibly have the boom crash down on me?"
Right.
So,
It's funny that you say that because look, I've managed many, many maintenance departments all
mhm,
around the country, all heavy industrial machines, mostly Caterpillar equipment.
mhm,
Um, and I was huge on procedures, right? We would always follow CAT-SYS Web. We would always do those things. And owning a business now that does heavy and industrial machine repair, and I'm out in the field troubleshooting machines by myself very often.
mhm,
I break a lot of the my own rules.
mhm.
And I know, and everybody listening, sorry, you're hearing me say, um, I've broken pipe wrenches by putting pipes on them.
Mhm.
I've used my crane to pick up on a wrench one
Mm.
time to break a bolt
That's
loose,
great.
you
Yeah,
know, but that's just, and sometimes you're doing it to avoid putting yourself at risk.
yeah,
You know
that's
what I,
true.
you know what I
Mhm.
mean? Because I would rather extend a pipe on a wrench and stand on the ground than stand up on top of a machine and that bolt breaks loose and I go flying off the back of the machine.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah. Mhm.
I can't break this bolt. My 1 inch impact gun won't break this bolt loose. My breaker bar that's 4 feet long, 1 inch drive won't break this bolt loose. Okay, well, I'm gonna put my 1 inch breaker bar on there with my crane on it, and I'm gonna hide behind my service truck with the
Yeah.
crane.
Yeah,
Right?
that's
So
true.
sometimes this sounds really bad, but sometimes
Yeah.
you're being unsafe to be safe.
Yeah, that is so true. Mhm.
It's crazy. Um, so I wanted to ask you one more thing.
Mhm.
Pertains to tools.
Okay.
Are you a toolbox person, tool cart, both? Like I know when I was at the cat dealer, I had a big roll cab that was in like a bay, but I had a big cart because we were constantly moving around the shop working on different stuff.
Mhm.
Are you similar, or what's your take?
Well, when I hit 5 years, I had this idea that I was going to buy my dream box. It's going to be really big, and then inflation hit, and then I started thinking, you know what? I do have a cart. It's not, or not a cart, a toolbox. And I just bought a second one.
Nice.
But they were really good deals and
Tool
I
truck
paid
deals.
cash for them and yeah, they're paid for.
Good.
Um, but yeah, so I'm satisfied with my two mid-size toolboxes. And
Awesome.
then I do have like a small cart that I carry, push around the shop.
Yep.
So
That's
yeah.
awesome. And it's
And
awesome that they're paid off.
yeah, yeah, so that's one thing, that people, they go into the field and they're like, I'm gonna make some money and this and that. And then I don't know, I don't want to say percentages of who's in debt, but everyone's in debt. And so for me, like, I don't know if you know Dave Ramsey, but I know that some people don't like him because maybe he's simplistic, but his plan has really helped me, um, to focus on saving my money and paying things off. So for anyone getting into the field, I truly think that, don't have the mentality that you can't take it with you when you die. I'm just gonna spend it, like I set limits for myself every month on, how much money I'm gonna spend on tools
Yeah.
and how much money I'm gonna allow myself to get into debt over tools. Um, and some months you might have, like this month, my drill and my impact, I mean, they hit 5 years and they died. So,
What brand? Call
um,
them out. What brand was it?
what, I'm gonna say this. I didn't know anything about tools. I bought a Ryobi when I started. That thing has been run over, battery exploded. It's been through so much and it has lasted 5 years. So
That's wonderful.
yeah, I'm like, I know people talk bad, but I did upgrade to Milwaukee. Um and then my drill I bought, it was DeWalt and it
Hmm.
was used. I buy a lot of used tools when I
Me
see
too.
them.
Me too.
And I replaced that as well with Milwaukee, but
Nice. That's awesome. So I remember when I started working at the cat dealer in 2013, DeWalt had just come out with their 20-volt impact, like their 3/8 impact.
mhm.
And my wife got it for me for my birthday, and I still have it to this day.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
and it still works. I mean, it's destroyed. There's no rubber. There's
Yeah.
there's no rubber on
Yeah.
it.
The front
Um,
of mine blew off and there's like wires stick. I was like, it's
yes,
time for a new one.
but it lasted. So, and I had all DeWalt cordless tools for a while, and then just in the last 2 years,
Mhm.
man, I bought a 3/4 Milwaukee Impact,
Yeah.
and then I bought the 1 inch like
Oh,
gun one,
yeah.
and I was like, man, I got to just switch everything over, and I did. Uh,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, I'm in the process of switching. So I just wanted less batteries because I have this drawer full of batteries and I was like, this is
yeah,
getting ridiculous. Like I
yeah,
had DeWalt, Snap-on,
yeah.
like Milwaukee, Ryobi,
I
like
had the first Snap-on when I bought I had a KRL Master Series Snap-on box,
mhm,
triple, so two full length top drawers, and then three bay like bottom drawers, with a stainless steel top. I bought that in 2013 also.
mhm.
Um, and I was like, it was like $12,000 or something,
Wow.
and I got like the very first Snap-on like half inch impact with like the nickel
Mhm.
metal cadmium batteries.
Yeah.
Today that thing is like it is garbage. I don't even use it.
Yeah.
And I didn't, and I love your advice because I didn't pay off that Snap-on toolbox until I got out of the Navy.
Oh, wow.
So
Yeah.
that's a word for the wise, right? Like even to this
Yeah.
day, I don't buy Snap-on tools anymore. I don't
Uh-huh.
buy it just if they have something specific, I will, right? That I can't get somewhere
Yeah.
else, or if I use it constantly, I will. But I buy
Yeah.
Icon from Harbor
Harbor
Freight.
Freight. Yeah.
I'll get SunX online. I mean, you can get
Mhm.
so many quality tools with a lifetime warranty, and you don't
Yeah.
have to kill yourself.
That's true. Right now, I feel like I'm in the so I got everything I need and I'm in the like really like weird tool phase. Like, let's see what they got that can do this.
S
So I
wrenches,
just
stuff like that.
yeah, just little weird things. So
Yeah,
mhm.
it's awesome. That's so great. Yeah, talking tools is I could do this all day long. Because does your husband do maintenance work as well?
He's in the sort of logistics world and
Okay.
then he's taken some time to do electrical work.
Oh, cool.
So before that I felt like, I can't really talk too much to him about it. Maybe he doesn't want to hear about
You knew
it.
what I was getting at.
Yeah. And after he started doing electrical work, he's buying tools left and right. And
It's
now
fun.
it's funny because at work they call me shop mom because I'm a mom and I mom them.
Yeah.
Most of the people I work with are young, and I'm like, you know, oh, I'll be at 41 soon. So, um, but I just feel like so like, "Oh, you don't wanna buy all this stuff, you might,
Keep keep it
save
up.
up," and
Keep it
but
up.
yeah, I do, enjoy that he's now, like, as excited about tools as I am, so
Yeah.
but
No,
we have because electricians, they like DeWalt, so we get in little arguments about which one's better and
That's funny. They must be a regional thing because the electricians I know here love Makita.
Uh-huh. Oh, Makita? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's funny.
It's
You know what?
funny.
I respect Makita because they have a coffee pot.
Do they?
Oh yeah, they got Makita's kind of famous for having like some weird attachments that you can buy.
That's funny. I
But
didn't know that.
yeah, yeah, they got a lot of different they have a little chart you can look online and it'll show like all the different things they have, but yeah, they have some weird stuff in there. It's kind of funny.
That's awesome. So have
Yeah.
you in the shop, have you gotten into or experienced any field line boring or like in the shop line boring of pins and bores, or have you done any welding? Have you done any like oddball things like that?
Um, yeah, we sometimes welding is not like a huge part of our job because it you you should know what you're welding, number one. Number two, like there's things that we're not really allowed to weld because it's a safety issue.
Structural.
Um, but yeah, we use a acetylene torch a lot, burning through stuff and we do sometimes the pins get worn out. We have to like replace bushings and yes, we will weld some smaller things that we feel is not gonna be unsafe,
Sure.
but mhm.
So have you used a pin lance yet?
No, just we just have a regular like welder that most shops have,
Do you know what I mean by pin lance?
No.
So pin lance is so you work on a lot of compact construction equipment, so it's sometimes it's not necessary, but in the out in the larger mining equipment, things like that, and a pin lance is an exothermic lance,
Mhm.
and essentially what it is you take a lance, which is like a little holder, and you put a rod in it, and the
Mhm.
rod is hollow, but it's made out of like someone's going to correct me, it's made out of like magnesium or something,
Okay.
and it's connected to an oxygen bottle and a
Mhm.
battery. So you strike it, hold the trigger, it catches on fire because the oxygen is burning off of the electrical arc you just made.
Mhm.
And then when it makes contact with the pin, it all hell breaks loose. And it literally turns into like a
It
insane,
just melts it.
it just cuts a hole right through the pin. So like these big pins and bores and they get seized up, what you do
Oh,
is you hollow out the pin, then you quench it with water
yeah.
and it shrinks, and then you can drive it out or
Shoot.
press it. Yep, and then you can
That's
press it
nice.
out.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of just beating and heating and beating is what
He,
they say.
One of my favorite terms, heating and
Yeah.
beating.
So yeah, yeah, we do deal with seized pins, but we don't have one of those. That'd be really cool though.
Oh, take it back
Yeah.
with you. Tell them.
We have a cutting, you know, torch and um, we'll cut stuff out, but yeah, that'd be sweet. I'd
Yeah.
like to see that. Mhm.
When we get off here, get on YouTube.
Yeah, look it up. Oh, I love uh have you ever seen those videos of people in like different countries like India or Pakistan and like how they work on equipment?
100%. That's
I am addicted to those.
those are the nights I don't sleep.
Yeah. It's like it's terrifying and it's like genius at the same time.
Yeah,
Like,
it's amazing.
yeah, it's I love seeing them all like work together and do things that is it's almost sort of like back in the day sort of technology, but it's something that people nowadays wouldn't be able to do without their fancy machinery. So,
100%. I think,
yeah.
it's funny, Millie, that you say that. I think the first thing I saw from you on social media was I think you posted a picture or like a clip of those guys.
Yeah, yeah, I
And
did.
and I think my comment, because I knew everyone was going to start throwing the
Yeah, I
internet.
did too. I was like, whatever, I don't care.
Yeah, and I think my comment was like, Millie, ignore all these internet safety people that have no
Oh
clue what
yeah.
any of this is.
Uh-huh.
But you're right, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Straightening cylinder rods and
Yeah.
you
Just
know,
rechroming them and like Yeah,
Yeah.
they're like smoking their cigarette with their sandals on.
Yep. Yep. Pulled an engine out of a dozer, dropped it on the ground.
Yeah.
It's like tumbling it over to fix it.
Yeah, I love watching those.
It's so good. And another one like on the flip side of that is do you know cutting edge engineering, Curtis?
I think I have, yeah, those
Oh
are
my,
fascinating too.
oh my
Yeah.
God, he's amazing. He's a one-man Australian guy who
Mhm.
works in a machine shop, but he does all, I mean, he's amazing.
Yeah, it would be something cool to go and see and but yeah,
Have
my
you-
next one of the things I really want to do is go to the Con Expo or whatever that they have in Vegas.
Yes.
I'm
We
like gonna tell my boss, like, please let me go. I'll pay for it. Just let me go with the sales team.
Yes, it's amazing. We went Upkeep and myself, we went to Waste Expo just like last
Mhm.
month.
Okay.
And Cat and Komatsu, Volvo, Senebogen, all those companies with
Mhm.
their machines set up. Um, Mine Expo, you know Mine Expo, right?
Mhm.
I want to go. I
Yeah.
want to go to that one too.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, there's always something new and cool coming out. That's what
Yes,
makes it fun.
very
Mm.
much. So, Millie, I want to ask you, what would be the last thing? What advice or what could you say to a young lady, young woman, a woman, and anyone who has thought about getting into the trades, has thought about turning the wrenches, maybe someone who has a grandfather similar to yours or a father
Mhm.
similar to yours, and they don't see themselves represented in our industry, what would you say to them?
Um, you know what? Like I feel that women have a lot to offer the trades because of their carefulness and their attention to detail. So I feel like, if you have that spirit that you want to do that, first it is very hard, but it's also like, I don't know, I wouldn't want to do a desk job. Like to me, that would just be a nightmare. So I just feel like, if you're like me and you don't like doing desk jobs and you like using your hands, like you would probably really like it. And I do recommend farming and construction world because I feel that they've, treated me very well as a female. Um and you know even the companies, so my school, American Diesel, it's a very good school, like everyone should look into it. um but they work directly with Penske, and Penske employs everyone who finishes and their schooling, and they're very female friendly. They love having women in the industry, and I think that, and also, let's say you get into it and you have a bad experience, um, keep going, go somewhere else. There's 10 million jobs out there, and unless you have some severe personality flaw, which, then you need to look inward.
That's right.
But let's say like it's one place and it's not great, go somewhere else. They'll there, like I said, there's plenty of jobs out there in this world, and just because one place treats you bad doesn't mean that they're all that way.
That's right. You
Mhm.
women as mechanics, as let's just say all the trades, if
Mhm.
you, like you said, if you learn the skill, you
Mhm.
you work at it, you have an open mind, you try to do the right things, you will never be without a job,
Yeah,
ever,
it's true. Mhm.
you know? And I just want to thank you so much for coming on here. I know we had to play tag a bit, uh,
Yeah.
to get this
Yeah.
moving.
Mhm.
But your story, who you are, is an inspiration to all women, and
Mhm.
I hope that anyone listening to this just sees that there's so much possibility, and
Mhm.
that just because you see a bunch of cavemen like me rolling around in the shops and service trucks doesn't mean you can't be right.
Yeah. It's true, um, there's people that will come and try to say, they try to like say nice things to me by putting, you know, men down and stuff around me, and I always say, like, "Who do you think trained us? Like, who trained me?" You know, I was like, "It was really great dudes." So they're out there and they're willing to work with you, and
Yeah.
I would say don't be afraid.
Yeah. And you don't need someone else put down because you're standing on your own 2 feet,
Yeah, no,
right?
yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
like you don't have to hate on those people. I'm doing this on
Yeah,
my
I
own,
am
right?
tough, but that doesn't make them weak.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
amazing. Millie, you're wonderful. I hope we can stay in
Mhm.
touch. I can have you back. I really look forward to following you and your career.
Mhm.
And if anybody wants to get in touch with you, how can they do so?
Um, yeah, I mean, I have an Instagram account. I think it's under Millie Merrill. But yeah, and I'm also on LinkedIn as well. Mhm.
Perfect. Awesome. So everybody listening, if you're interested in women in industry, particularly heavy equipment mechanics where we live, please, please, please reach out to Millie. She's amazing. And we want to thank you again, Millie, from Upkeep. I'm glad you were able to check out what Upkeep was, and now you
Mhm.
kind of have a frame of reference after us talking before we got on here as to what
Mhm.
Upkeep does. And again, thank you, and we
Mhm.
will see you on the next one.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm.